Now this is the heart of the matter. The role of the gut microbiome in cancer and virtually every invasive disease, because every disease has one thing in common. It invades a membrane. Whether it's your skin, your nose, your eyeballs, your organs, it invades the membrane that surrounds that package, whatever that package is. And that is called the gut microbiome, consisting of trillions of bacteria and other microorganisms that reside in a human digestive tract. Now, they don't realize it's not just a digestive tract, and it plays a significant role in cancer development, progression, and treatment. Now, they think it's only the digestive tract. That is not true. Okay, I'm going to sort of breeze over this quickly because there's no reason to know all these different names. They don't mean much. These are harmful bacteria, and there's many more than these that are harmful. And the same thing with the beneficial bacteria. There is literally thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of species. And every species creates another enzyme. I will show you that, or it is a worker of some sort. It creates enzymes, which are ribosomes, or it is a gobbler. It goes out and eats up. It's a macrophage, let's put it that way. Now, this is your digestive system. What does digestive mean? It digests, it breaks things down and turns it into food and other products. Well, what does that? Bacteria. And other things that are in your guts, viruses and all kinds of things. They all work together now. Now, all you eat, and it comes down, it goes through all of this here, and you absorb all kind of good stuff, and then it goes in here, and it gets all festered up, and you break down all your foods and everything. By the time it gets done, you poop. And this is where they get the beneficial bacteria isolated from a stool sample for fecal matter transplant. Now, fecal matter transplant. You have to be sure you don't get pathogens. Yes, absolutely. Or different types of things that they can scan for now. But what's left over from a very healthy person is good bacteria, living, quality, good bacteria. And if it goes into another person's digestive system, it propagates, it lives, it thrives. And then it creates the enzymes. Now, how important are these enzymes? How fast do they work? Why are they so important? I'll tell you why right now. All right, let's get to the nuts and bolts. You've got literally tens of thousands of different species, at least, of bacteria living in you. And every one of them either creates a ribosome like this, or it is a macrophage type of thing where it goes out and eats up and devours other things that are in your body. They chase things around, bacteria, and they kill them, they eat them. And then they dissolve them, and then they bring them over to the lymph nodes to dump out the trash. Now, if it's one of these that make the ribosomes, that is your chemistry set right there. And it is elegant, and it is tiny. You could fit 1 million of those in one single cell. 1 million of those. And they float around through your body, squirting these things out. Now, not only are they in your digestive system, they're throughout your body in that fluid-filled highway. Again, not discovered until recently. And I'll bet if you started asking doctors, and I have, they don't know anything about this. They don't know, what does the interstitium do? Oh, yeah, I heard about that. They don't know. No idea what it does. And what happens is in this dark layer here, is where all your bacteria is living and creating enzymes down here. And then when they're called on, they squirt into the fluid-filled highway, zip, 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 and they go where they have to go, and they attack what they have to attack. And I have shown this in videos they did from years ago. And what happens is there's 3 layers. Well, here it is right here. There's your skin. There's the fluid-filled highway right there. And these are the gates that go from that area where I showed you, the dark area where all the bacteria lives and the enzymes, and that's these right here. When they're called on, they squirt out through here and they go through the fluid-filled highway to deliver their products. Down here is the basement layer between your skin and your vital flesh is down at the bottom part. And that's how it's designed, and that's what this is right here. That's this layer right here. The bottom layer was where all that blue stuff was, and the green stuff, which was the enzymes and the bacteria, and this is the fluid-filled highway. This up here is the skin, and this was just discovered now a few years ago. And things move very slowly in the medical field. Now I'm just going to go through all these because every one of these tells a story. And let's start with, what is a bacteria? Well, I showed you the bacteria, all right, and it has its own DNA. All right, its own DNA says, I got a program in my DNA that says I make this, and what I have to do is link together 37 of these, and they have like 20 codes for each one of these, so you can have such a program coming out of here. These are little amino acids, and they link in what's called a polypeptide chain. Some of them are short chains, some are long chains. And that's what here it is right here. This is the whole sequence at once. There's the DNA I showed you. Right there is a ribosome, those little tiny balls, and I said you could fit 1 million in one single cell. Cells are like, and you can fit 1 million plus all the other stuff to make the cell work. Now, what is this made of? What's that ribosome made of? Well, it's that polypeptide chain. You see all these different colors? All those means are different amino acids. And they come down and into this mRNA strand. It's a messenger RNA. It's half of a DNA. It comes up and it mingles in with, it needs another enzyme. Anything you see at ASE, polymerase is an enzyme. Transferase is an enzyme. Anything with an ACE on the end. No. So they make the mRNA, it goes up and splices right into our own DNA and sets up a code that says, if you ever see this thing here, that I just programmed in here, send it out and kill it. And there's something is triggered by that. There's a response, there's an encounter, and if it works right, the thing dies. If you don't have the bacteria that created that ribosome, you're done. You cannot program your DNA to ever respond to that. So every time somebody comes around with that little glitchy thing, you're going to get it. You have to become immune. All right? And in the first place, you may get it so bad that you never recover from it. And you always are either sick or weak. They call that chronic fatigue. You know, these are syndromes that just last forever. Predisposition to diseases and so forth. Because you don't have that immunity made because you didn't have the bacteria. No bacteria, no immunity. We are killing our bacteria right now from things that we eat and from things that we drink and from our lifestyle, from the air, and for who knows what else. But the solution to it is to get the database. If we have the database, we may be able to supplement this and just get away from it. But if we don't have the database, we're just blind. We're just walking around in circles. Let's try some of this. Let's clip a couple of these little things, throw that in the guy's body and see what happens. That's why people are so upset about these inoculations and things, because, you know, it's a little bit scary. It really is. And there is issues when a child has no immunities whatsoever, when they're very tiny. That's why I say we have to start out right there at birth. When they're tiny and they have no immunities to fight back whatsoever, none, and that's not normal. They should have some, and they should be able to react to these live vaccinations. But if they have no immunity whatsoever, there's nothing to fight back at all. So instead of them fighting back and becoming immune, they get sick. What happens to them? How sick do they get? Well, it depends. Depends on what the reaction in their body is to whatever they're getting. And sometimes antibiotics are just broad spectrum. They kill a whole batch of stuff. And sometimes they give antibiotics right when the kids are being born, right at the birth process. All of these things have to be taken into account. But the key is, if we get the database, then we got somewhere to start with. Without that, we're done. And this is almost free. This is a fecal swab. And if we did this right with some of these little guys that run around with their little iPads and so forth, they could figure out how to do this with AI and get a report back within seconds of what you need to do. Take 2 of these and see me in the morning. That's the type of thing we need right now. Okay, my outstanding friends. Everybody's worried about autism. Everybody's worried about Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis and all these other chronic diseases. Even COVID has become a chronic disease with some people. They just never recover from it. Why? Why do some people get better and some people don't? Why do some people get infected in the first place and some people don't? Why do some kids get autism, the other ones don't? There is a reason for this. And it's now become fairly obvious that the gut-brain microbiome has a tremendous effect on every single bit of your life, all the way from your health and the construction of your body, all the way up to the way you think and the way your ability to communicate with your muscles and the whole 9 yards is all really created by enzymes. Now I'm going to drag you through this, but I'm going to show you the research. This is a collection of research. I make no recommendations, do this or that. Research has to start, and then you make recommendations after you see the whole research. Let's get started. I'm going to show you the claims that are being made and the claims that I am making about how the body reacts with enzymes versus without enzymes. And where do the enzymes come from? These are the things that we have to determine and understand before we can understand how you're going to get healthy. Just taking a bunch of drugs and taking a bunch of inoculations that are designed is not really health. And I'm going to explain to you the reason I think that not much research has been done with the natural bacterial enzymes is because you can't patent those. They're living creatures. You cannot patent them. The only way you can patent an enzyme is if you can create it by some kind of genetic alteration, and then you don't have a natural product. And then, to me, that's not the way to health. That's the way to changing things so that things could go, who knows what could happen. But when you use the natural products that one person will have and have that specific bacteria that fights off these specific invaders, and I will show you how specific it is now. They have now pinpointed certain bacteria that attack certain cancers. And now they also, we're going to get into this, but I would love to have Robert Kennedy Jr. look into this. I would love to just interact. That's all I'm asking. I don't want to have a job. I don't want any money. I don't want anything about it. I just want to have people understand the research that I've gone through to figure this out. And I think I have it figured out pretty well. We would know within a couple of months or even a month if what I'm saying is correct. And if what I am saying is correct, we can have a real good suppression on a lot of health issues just by getting a database of the bacteria that is in your body. Let me explain in detail. Okay, I'm going to get started, but this is all with the backdrop of this new organ that they agreed existed in 2018. It's called the interstitium, and it covers every single part of your body. They claim it's the biggest organ in the body, which it is, and it's a fluid-filled highway, that one right there. Whenever they did autopsies, the fluid was gone. They thought it was just a flat sheet. I discovered there was a fluid-filled highway, and I've been researching it ever since. That was over 10 years ago. Now, let me show you what that layer does and what the layer below it does. Okay, the two things that you need for life absolutely are bacteria creating the enzymes, and you need the bacteria creating the proteins. They create both. So here it is, yes, bacteria synthesize proteins. Synthesize means they synthetically make them. The bacteria themselves take all these little particles and they twist them around until they get exactly what they want as their protein. Now, do bacteria create enzymes? Absolutely. Here it is right here. Bacteria produce enzymes. In fact, they are a primary source of enzymes. They're the only source of enzymes, creating a wide range of enzymes. That means a wide range of bacteria, because every one of them has a specific enzyme, which is elegant, as I will show you. And it facilitates metabolic, means the breaking down your food, to process and break down complex compounds, that's food, in their environment for nutrition acquisition. Otherwise, you don't have little bits and pieces for the proteins to build back up into body parts and so forth. And it also is, the enzymes are for the immunity. They attack. They're attackers. All right, so now we got bacteria and enzymes. Well, they make both the destroyers of things and the fixers of things. It says bacteria enzymes can play a role in both aiding and hindering the host immune system. They can suppress it or they can make it robust, with some bacterial enzymes acting as immune modulators and other as virulence factors that can subvert the immune response. A lot of this they don't really understand yet because of this new interstitial highway. They just don't understand how the fluid-filled highway brings these products to where they're needed to attack. And that's what the enzymes do. They float around, they look for where they want to attack, and bam, they whack it. All right, let me just start with this. All I am asking for is a database from. All we need to do is test the gut bacteria from birth, right at the instant of birth almost, and see what that baby is pooping right away. Is there any immunities in there? Is there any bacteria? Because that's what they're going to do, is increase the number of bacteria in their body responding to what is attacking them, in the local response, in the birth canal, all that stuff. Then after any medical issue whatsoever, before and after any, they should be tested. Not only should they be tested when they're getting antibiotics or vaccines or any of that stuff, they should be tested if they're getting CAT scans or any kind of radiation will damage your bacteria. And I can prove this because of acute radiation exposure. Causes your guts to go bad because you don't have the enzymes, because you don't have the bacteria. We're going to get into that. But this is all we would need to show one way or other, am I right? We need to get a database of what these kids have in them. When a kid is sick, what does he have? When a kid is healthy, what do they have? What's the differences? And if you see everybody, when they're way up here, has autism on some lactobacillus whatever, well, you give them some of that and see if it fixes it. And we had some success over there in Northern Ireland in some trial studies. Marguerite O'Reilly is doing a fabulous job over there, and she's getting the government involved. It looks like to me they're signing on to this because she's had pretty good success. Now, we need to know before and after. Any shots, any illnesses, any antibiotics, anything that would put a stress on the gut bacteria. If you find a kid is pooping, all of a sudden they got diarrhea, constipation, something's not going right in the digestive, that's all. You got to fix that up and then go from there. If the digestive system's working perfectly, the person should be pretty well healthy, because that means that you're digesting. If you're eating the correct stuff, obviously you're eating just some garbage. I don't care how good your digestive system is, it's just going to be digesting garbage. So you need to have some idea of what a healthy-ish diet is. And after that, you need to have the bacteria to work on that healthy diet, and then you get the products you need to be healthy. So all we want to do is simply match the results of the swabs to a database, and what we should be able to do. And we want that database to be pretty rigid. We want to know the sex, the race, the region they're in, the diet they eat, the types of water, and we could do water analysis, we could do all that. This is research. And you're spending billions of dollars and never getting anywhere. Well, why don't we spend a third of that and get somewhere? We have to isolate the bacterial strains and isolate the enzymes that create certain issues in the body, healthy or unhealthy. And it's just getting a database, and all it requires is a fecal swab. And I think we could use artificial intelligence and a cell phone picture. With a certain app, take a picture of your poop and send it to AI and say, what is in there? And how much of the stuff is in there? And it should be able to look at it and say, we got all these different colors. It means different types of species of bacteria. And all of a sudden they see a big blob of yellow one there. They say, whoa, 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 you got trouble. That yellow should only be this size. And you got most of it's yellow. Not good. This would almost, within a couple of weeks, you could do this. The way Trump works, he move fast. He just hit this quick. Couple of weeks, we find out if I'm right or wrong. If I'm right, this is huge. And it is, research suggests a link between the gut microbiome, specifically in multiple myelomas, its potential impact on disease progression, treatment response, studies exploring the role of fecal microbiota transplant. All that is new bacteria that actually lives in you, and you don't have to supplement it with anything. That's the problem. I think it's because there's no money in this. You cannot patent a natural cure of bacteria, which is a naturally thing that should be in your body. Can't patent it. So nobody bothers with the research. All right, don't forget now, coming out of that bacteria, these come out, just squirt out forever. And they float around the body, and if they get turned on, they turn into a huge enzyme. Think of this, there's 1 million of these in one cell. When that pops open, it may be the size of the whole cell. You say, well, how could that be, Roger? Well, I don't know. I didn't do it, God did it. And here's what happens. The ball comes out like this. It's tiny. There's nothing there. It's just laying around waiting for something to do. It doesn't poop. It doesn't eat. It doesn't bother anything. Unless it says, hey, we need you. And it's okay, I'm here. And it opens itself up like this. And then it turns into an exotic, unbelievable enzyme or a protein. There's a saying. Are enzymes proteins? Yes. Except these break things, split them into little bitty pieces, or attack invaders with extreme toxic breakdown chemistry, and these are builder chemistry, proteins. They click, 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 click. I come here, bolt that thing down, snap that together, and make some bone. Whatever. These are builders. These are breakers. These are also your troops, your immune system troops. They patrol through the lymphatic system, and that layer that I showed you is basically the lymphatic system in your body. You see that? Don't forget, that started out like microscopic, and that's what an enzyme ends up looking like. And if it doesn't match all these different spots, it will not do its job. It has to be exactly that way every single time, or it's denatured, it doesn't work. So if you don't have the bacteria, you're never going to get that. This is just never going to happen by accident. You have to have the bacteria to make the enzyme to do the job. And they're extremely specific, and they do one specific job. That's why you have to have so many different bacteria to create so many different enzymes. And every one of them has a new job. Now, this is what happens on the attack. They come through, and your basement layer is here, and they're trying to get into you, and you send out your killer guys and try to wipe them out. Now, this is how they invade sometimes. There's different invasion techniques. This is like where they dig their little feelers into an opening here, which could be a loose junction. It could be some kind of a sore or something, but you want to send out your guys to attack it and kill it. If you send enough guys out to attack that, you should never get invaded. But if you don't have these guys, or only have a few, which is in this case right here, there's only a few of them, and there should be a bazillion of them, and you're just not going to be able to stop the invasion. I'm just going to go through all these real quick, because they prove my point. Look, Parkinson's, linked to gut bacteria. This is just 6 months ago. All right, what's this one? This is twin studies on autism, and I understand this too. One of them got better and one of them didn't. One of them had an extreme amount of antibiotics when he was very young. He had to have a surgery on his heart. He never recovered. The other one recovered. This is scientists discover mysterious new brain cells that could change how we treat Alzheimer's. Well, that's nice. They're finding things every day, and most of them relate to this. Fecal microbiota transplant shows potential as a novel treatment for epilepsy. Novel just means new. For epilepsy, particularly drug-resistant epilepsy. You keep giving them more and more and more of this stuff, and it just doesn't work. Well, then they give them this. It modulates the gut microbiome, potentially improving behavior comorbidities like anxiety, cognitive dysfunction, the whole 9 yards. Gut-brain connection. What's this one? Now, there's a new thing they just discovered, this where your memories get stored, called the ovoid cells. Now, this is when you get Alzheimer's. Ovoid cells active in hippocampus of a mouse. Called ovoid cells, these highly specialized neurons activate each time we encounter something new. And this was very cool. Anyway, triggering a process that stores these objects in memory, allowing us to recognize them months, potentially even years later. What they did was they could see if they introduced something new to a mouse. They'd see these things light up really bright. And then the next time, a week later or something, they'd show it again, and they'd light up, but not real bright. And then the next time they show it again, and they wouldn't light up anymore, because it was stored, that memory. It was like something new, and then they see it again, and they say, well, is that exactly what I thought I saw? Well, it must be. And then it's stored. And they store them here. Now, as you get Alzheimer's and so forth, all of a sudden you just can't remember things. You don't even see things anymore. They're gone. And trust me, I can feel a little bit of that coming on. So it's kind of important to look into this. Now, this is, here's another one, MS. Prescription medication used to treat multiple sclerosis is this Ocrevus. Now, I was just looking at somebody asked me about it. Ocrevus works by binding to a protein. Protein is an enzyme. Binding to a protein called CD20 on the surface of B cells. This binding triggers the destruction of the B cells, reducing inflammation, slowing the progress of MS. We're dealing with enzymes and proteins again. Over and over and over. It's the same story. What do we got here? Antigens are substances trigger the body's immune response. Well, what response? How does it respond? It has to have some bacteria that recognize you have an invader. Then it has to either create something or it has to call on something that it has in stock, which is going to be the ribosomes. Now, if it doesn't have them in stock, it has to create it. How does it create it? It has to interrogate this new invasion and create, literally program, a new DNA code, a new polypeptide chain. To say, if we can make one of these, we can go up and go, and it kills it. And the enzymes don't even get used up. They come up and they kill one right after the other, thousands, millions of them, and they don't even get used up. It's like, I call it click chemistry. They're so exotic that it's just like electrocution, instantaneously though. They come up and they see 1,000 guys, pew, done, they're all done, killed instantly. And it's got something to do with the magnetic bonding in their cell structure is all I can take away from it. Because it kills them and they just wither away and die. And then they got to get cleaned up and dragged over to the lymph nodes. So this is about triggering your immune system. Now, here's where I can tell you that I know this is all related because of acute radiation syndrome. Well, what is that? This is the long-lasting effects of acute radiation syndrome. Can include an increased risk of developing cancers, cardiovascular disease, organ damage, as well as mental health conditions. This can go on for a very long time. And the reason is, when you get irradiated, this is acute radiation syndrome, means you get pulsed. When that pulse goes through you, and even a CAT scan, or any of that stuff, damages your bacteria. Bacteria doesn't like to get shot with radiation. So the bacteria goes bad, and all of a sudden, you start getting nausea, diarrhea, and all that within an hour or two of getting radiated. It's because it killed your bacteria. And if you don't have the right bacteria, almost instantly you will fall over dead. Now, it didn't kill all your bacteria, but it killed enough to cause all this distress. And that's what acute radiation distress is. It's got 100% to do with gut. And then after it works its way in, it starts to affect your skin and everything else because the bacteria isn't there to create the enzymes to protect you. You're done. If you have some left over, it'll start to repopulate. And the place it repopulates, believe it or not, appears to be an appendix. That's the chunk that's left over after you flush all your stuff out. You always got that backup in the appendix. I don't know if the appendix, I would imagine that gets irradiated too, unless it's got some kind of kryptonite around it or something. See this? Here's the thing about Ozempic. This just came out today. New proteins, that's just nothing more than an enzyme, is discovered that could rival Ozempic with fewer side effects. They programmed this BRNP2 peptide. These are polypeptides. These chains. They figured a way to make a bunch of these chains to activate particular neurons in the brain in a similar way as GLP-1, which is the Ozempic. And the difference between the two peptides is the metabolic route each one takes to get there. Well, what's a metabolic route? It means metabolism. Metabolism means you break down something and consume it. Well, one of them you may have to take with food. Maybe the other one you have to take with water. Maybe, I don't know. But one goes through the blood, one goes through the lymph. I don't know. It's a metabolic route, which is inside your metabolism of your body. So one goes this way, one goes that way. But both of them are patentable because they made them, not because they're natural. But I'm going to tell you right now, if it's a protein, there should be a natural way to produce that. There's going to be a bacteria that should produce that particular type of enzyme, and probably even better than that, because it's naturally made. These are man-made. So there's room for error here. All right, this is just about the blood of exceptionally long-lived people suggests crucial differences. Yes, quite obviously, if they're living that long, it's not just by accident. And this is also part of the database. All right, what's this one? Oh, tattoos, you've got to be careful about that. They're finding that they're leading to skin cancer in some cases. And what it is, it's penetrating, getting down into that interstitial layer. I worked with people 10 years ago, and they were telling me that they were finding tattoo ink down in the fascia of the organs, deep inside the body. And at that point is when we started to realize it was a fluid-filled highway. Here's another one. Gut bacteria for MS. It's the gut bacteria. The balance of gut bacteria could play a crucial role. The balance, it's a balance. You have to have good fighting the bad. The bad is necessary in many, many cases because it cleans up and eats up all of the trash sometimes. And you would consider it flesh-eating bacteria maybe, something like that. But it has to be there to eat up the dead flesh. Now here's the role of the microbiota in infant health from early life to adulthood. This is absolutely incredibly important. From early life to adulthood, the microbiota plays a crucial role in health of the infant. The microbiota in early life are not only a key regulator of infant health, but also associated with long-term health. And then they go from this, you can get in pretty deep. When did they start to create their microbiota? I say right at the birth process, maybe even a little bit before that, because the body of the chemistry in a woman's body changes, they claim, just prior to giving birth, and I assume it does. The human body, well, any creature's body, is just incredibly amazing. Now, what is this one? These OSU Portugal undergraduates discovered that sulfortin, a plant-derived compound, but it's an enzyme-ish, inhibits an enzyme. All right, slow myelin damage. Here it is. The compound may help prevent myelin damage. That's where you get all these nervous conditions. You can't do anything like that because you can't communicate. The myelin is broken. The sheathing that keeps these nerves isolated or shortened out, and it could help prevent myelin damage and slow cancer growth. A breakthrough years in the making paves the way for further research into sulfortin's therapeutic potential. There's a lot of things we need to look into, very simple things. This is not even hard to look into these things. All right, I'm going to show you how bad this is. This just came out today. It said they found, this OHSU scientists, aided by the University of Portland undergraduates, discovered that sulfortin, a plant-derived compound, inhibits an enzyme, don't forget the enzyme, linked to multiple sclerosis and cancer. This particular protein from this plant, sulfortin, inhibits the enzyme linked to multiple sclerosis and cancer. Sulforatin. Well, let's do some research. What does sulforatin do? Where does it come from? Well, we know it comes from plants. What does it do in the body? Okay, this is myelin damage. Multiple sclerosis. The compound may help prevent myelin damage, slow cancer. And this is from this plant-derived compound, which they know about for years. They knew about this for many years. This is sulfurin, major flavonoid, from 2012. They knew about this. But you can't make any money on it. All right, bacterial enzymes can play a role in both aiding and hindering the host immune system. But again, you can't patent these, so there's no money to be made. That's the problem. All right, let me just keep running through these. So we know, they've known about this forever. Everything is related to an enzyme. You can't work fast enough. Now this I thought was interesting. She's leaving the Department of Health, National Institution of Mental Health. Well, since 2015, she's overseen a significant research funding portfolio, shaped the national agenda for mental health research. I didn't see any, and then they talk about fostering collaboration between institute extramural and intramural research. In other words, they want to work with anybody, and they want to work within themselves. No, they didn't work with anybody. As far as I could see, I had no help whatsoever, and I tried over and over and over. She's going into the education system now to teach people whatever she teaches. Now this is, we already saw this, inhibits an enzyme. Everything's enzymes. That's her again. Beyond the brain, the gut microbiome, and Alzheimer's. This is all within the last couple of years, and they work so slow in that realm because any solution, you lose it. All right, here's the gut. We showed about this, all the different bacteria, the good ones, the bad ones, and the ugly ones. What do we got here? Gut microbiome and cancer. It plays a significant role in cancer development, progression, and treatment. They know this now. It's just that, again, there's no money in a solution. I'm telling you. This is Trump picked a science advisor who isn't a scientist. That's a good idea. Now, I try to get a hold of this guy, too, Michael Christosis. I haven't heard anything back from there either. I know the guys are busy, and I'm just another guy on the street, but I have a lot to offer. Now, this was really interesting. This was recognition memory, one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. And that's when they were picking up on those little green ovoids to see. So you could see in a Alzheimer patient possibly these things turning on and off. I don't know if they can do that or not, but they say, well, let me just read it. It says, recognition memory, one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. You forget what keys are, or that photo of a person you loved. You just can't remember. What if we could manipulate these cells to prevent or reverse that? And with epilepsy, we're seeing that ovoid cells are hyperexcitable and could be playing a role in seizure initiation and propagation, making them a promising target for novel treatments, which is fecal matter transplants. That's what they're talking about to treat this Alzheimer's. They're talking about it for everything, every disease I can find. They're talking about the same thing. And this is radiation sickness. That's when you get an acute blast of radiation. Early symptoms within hours: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headache, fever, fatigue, dizziness. Why? Why don't you just fall over dead? This is all gut distress, and it's killed your bacteria. You don't have your enzymes. Within hours, if you don't have your enzymes, you're sick. I'm telling you, it's so important. It's just unbelievable. And then later symptoms, and you get ulcers and damage in gastrointestinal tract leading to severe diarrhea, dehydration. That's all from destroying your gut bacteria. What do we got here? Monoclonal antibodies, but these are all laboratory produced proteins and mimic antibodies produced by the human immune system. But they want to make money on them, so they mimic them. You're not going to make it the same as the body. The body is going to do a much more elegant job. What do we got here? This Lactobacillus reuteri. This is what my wife had cancer, and this is Lactobacillus reuteri, a probiotic bacterium, can play a role in melanoma, that's skin cancer, immunotherapy by stimulating CD8 T cells, promoting anti-tumor immunity, potentially through the release of this molecule. Now, what does it say about this? Lactobacillus reuteri and melanoma immunotherapy. You got melanoma, skin cancer, the nodes there. I can't think of the name. Hold on. Yeah, it's lymph nodes. This lymph system and the lymph nodes and the skin all work together as basic system. You got all kinds of stuff in your skin that has to be transferred to the lymph nodes to get rid of it, because your most invasive area is the outside of your body. Inside, you got to work with that stuff, but it's not like the outside of your body. You're exposed to all kinds of things: your throat, your nose, your ears, all of that stuff, all of your entire skin. So that's where it brings the stuff down to the lymph nodes, especially in your gut and your groin area, down in that area. Now, this lactobacillus and melanoma, skin cancer, lymph cancer, lymph nodes and so forth, this L. reuteri can travel to the melanoma tumors. It goes there, and it releases this 13A, a dietary tryptophan metabolite, which in turn boosts anti-tumor immunity and enhances cancer immunotherapy. Now, my wife had this cancer, and she doesn't have it anymore. She went through the treatments, so I'm not going to say this is what helped her, but that's what they're saying. It travels to it, and it eats up that cancer. And they've shown it does create a stronger immune response against cancer. They're saying it's stronger. If you had this before you ever got the cancer, maybe you wouldn't have to have it. But who knows? What about this one? There's multiple myeloma. Research suggests a link between multiple myeloma. It's one right after another here. And I showed you this and the different pictures. That right there is the key to your health. If you got the things growing in here that have the immunity factors in them, and then they go out and attack. That's their job. That's what they do. And I showed you about the twin studies. We saw about the link with Parkinson's and gut disease. I don't think any disease that's invasive is out of the picture here. They're all the same. They're all invading a membrane. Simple as that. And it's right here. This is the same thing that would be on your organs. Every single thing in you is coated with a bag of collagen and keratin. It depends where it is in the body, how stiff the structure has to be. The collagens work with things that do this. And there's like 20 different collagens. And the keratins are a little tougher, you know, they're much more structurally sound. Let's just go with that. So they don't have to do this all day long like your lungs. However, everything in your body, 100% of everything, every single organ, every single muscle, everything, even your red blood cells, and your blood cells in your body, they have membranes around them. They don't want to be penetrated. You penetrate them, it has responses to that. It will not let some come through and hurt them if it has the correct chemistry in there. Like I said, you can have 1 million of these little ribosomes laying around inside of every cell. So if something comes through and tries to get, let's say this was a cell, and I'm coming down and I want to penetrate that and get some of that cell food down here, the mitochondria or something. And I start coming down and I say, ooh, is there anybody around here? Nope, nope, go right through there, boom. Well, all of a sudden this guy says, whoa, 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 the guy's trying to break through. And it hits one of these and it goes, brrr, it surrounds him, dead. That case is closed. That's your immune system in action. Now, what we need to do is get a database. We need to get a database. Find out what's living in that layer. Pretty much, you know, you can find it out from a fecal matter transplant. And we should start with the little bitty kids all the way up to adulthood. And even in adulthood, we should be able to supplement these good bacteria. So the bacteria is going to get old just like you're getting old. It's supposed to grow in your body. And when you have young, good, healthy bacteria, you just a ball of fire. But then as you get older, that fire gets a little burnt out, you know. Get to a point where she's smoldering. I think I'm there now. So this is important. RFK saved my life. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But I'm telling you, I'm getting close. I'm getting close. You can, as you get to this age, you know, I do research on myself. Everybody does. But I go a little deeper on it. And I can see, I'm trying to evaluate the decline. But I know for a fact, I have trouble coming back with words. You know, sometimes I get confused. I have trouble hearing and understanding people speaking fast. That is hard for me. And I want to be a research, you know, part of the research study. Find out if I can help myself. But I need some researchers to work with. And we could save literally billions and billions and mega billions on healthcare if we could use these natural proteins and enzymes. And, you know, once you isolate them, and you know these different bacteria, you could grow them in vats. They grow. They can grow. They will grow, and they grow in your body, and they stay growing in your body. If you kill them, though, now you're in trouble. So once we isolate these things, and the important ones for sure, and there are several very important ones, and I've focused in on a little bit of that too, because I've been working with everybody in the world that has been working on the fecal matter stuff and the different enzymes, and there's only a few, basically very few. So once you isolate that particular enzyme created by that particular bacteria, you grow the bacteria in a culture, and you could grow vats of it. It's just that you cannot patent that, so somebody else can do it too. So you end up with the cheapest guy. Actually, everybody has a right to health. Nobody should force you to pay $1,000 a month for Ozempic. That's what it costs, $1,000 a month for Ozempic. They just found a bacteria. Well, not a bacteria, they found an enzyme. But an enzyme is always a product of a bacteria. All they did was say, let's take this enzymatic type of thing and click a couple of little molecules on it and see what it does, basically. And wow, it works to mimic what a protein would do in your body, made by a natural product that would be just living in your body. No $1,000 a month. No excessive compulsive eating disorders. And, you know, with the right level of bacteria in your body, you should be just about good for anything. But we need that database, and we have to start it. And it can be done almost instantly. Again, swabs. Click. AI. Boom. You're doing fine. Or AI. Click. You got problems. And they could probably just prescribe you the different types of bacteria you need to balance that. And with AI, after a while, you could send it back in and say, did that do the job? And they say, oh, no, well, now we're discovering that once you take that, you got to take some more of this. And AI would figure that out. And it wouldn't take long. We just, there's going to be relationships. We need to see the relationships. And the one relationship that is undeniable is that every single invasive disease penetrates a membrane. Undeniable. Why? And I think I also know that there is a difference in the chemistry of every membrane in the body, or every organ in the body, because it's protecting different things, acids, salts, who knows what, and that membrane surrounding it has to accommodate that kind of chemistry. I would assume that membrane itself is probably a different type of material, a different type of collagen. But in addition to that, I would suspect that the fluids that surround it would also be a different type of fluid. Although I don't know that for a fact. The only way we could do is do some research and just see what's in these different organs. And it's not a big thing to do this. This is simple stuff. I need to talk to RFK Jr. I know exactly what to do this study, and in 2 months I walk away, you do anything you want. I don't want to be that involved. Well, I do want to be involved. I find this fascinating, and I find it exhilarating, and I would like to have it help me in my later life, and my wife, and my kids, and everybody else. So this is not, I'm not trying to do this to make money. Money has absolutely zero to do with it. I got enough. I don't have that much, but I got enough to get by. And so I don't need anything from anybody. I don't want to be on any payroll. I just want to be involved. All right, thank you. I love you all. That is the programmer that God made to make you healthy.